This week, Winter Storm Jonas turned Washington, D.C. into a winter wonderland. For the first time in 40 years, people could legally sled on Capitol Hill. That was just one of the provisions tucked inside that massive $2 trillion spending bill Congress passed right before the holidays. But now some conservatives wonder if that spending bill was nothing more than a snow job. Economists also say that spending package will add between $1 and $2 billion to the national debt over the next 20 years. And according to a report in The Hill today, rising red ink poses challenges for the GOP. Republican leaders are facing mounting pressure from conservatives to slow the growth of largely popular programs such as Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security, in line with the party's broader goal of balancing the budget within a decade.
All right, thanks, Miranda. For more on this, we want to welcome in Congressman Ted Yoho. He represents Florida's 3rd congressional district. Last year, he also challenged John Boehner for the speakership before Paul Ryan went on to obtain the gavel. Also with us, John Gizzi, Newsmax's chief Washington correspondent. Gentlemen, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having us, John.
All right, my pleasure. Congressman, I know you also want to talk about your resolution of condemnation and censure for President Obama. But first, this week, the CBO announced that the federal deficits are expected to grow by $100 billion this year. It's the first increase since 2009. This is not good news, especially if you are a conservative. So I wanted to ask you, how is Speaker Ryan doing when it comes to reining in spending?
Well, first off, it's a mess that the spending is going to go up that much, and it's on a trajectory to go up a lot higher. I think what I read yesterday, it's going to go up to like $30 trillion in the next 10 to 12 years. It's got to stop. Speaker Ryan came into a tough situation. If you remember, at the end of the year, at the end of the fiscal year, John Boehner cleaned out the barn, per se. And me being a large animal veterinarian for 30 years, I know what comes out of the barn.
Yeah.
And Paul Ryan has a situation he had to get through that year. His commitment, along with Mitch McConnell and even Harry Reid, they gave us the guarantee at our retreat that they're going to get all 12 authorizations and appropriations done. And if we do that, we'll have the reforms, the beginning of the reforms, in place and passed, and we won't be stuck with another omnibus at the end of next year come September.
All right. Well, I know Mr. Gizzi wanted to ask you about some possible primary challenges. John, go ahead.
Yes, and I remember covering Dr. Yoho when he defeated a 22-year incumbent in the Republican primary with strong Tea Party support. Now, in the wake of the omnibus spending bill, which had a lot of the things conservatives didn't like in it, from funding for Planned Parenthood to the Export-Import Bank, one is seeing many other Yoho-style primary challenges to veteran incumbent Republican House members, notably House Ways and Means Committee Chairman Kevin Brady. Do you see a lot of this, and is it a reaction to the omnibus spending bill, Congressman?
No, John, I don't think it's a reaction to the omnibus spending bill. I think that's fueled a little bit more angst in America. But if you go back to that wave that came in for the 2010 election, that was one of the largest Republican replacements, in the House of Representatives. I think they put in 86 new Republican seats. That was, coming off the advent or the beginning of the Tea Party movement that started in roughly 2009. That was just a gentle transition from the Democrats to the Republicans. And in 2012, as you brought up, I ran, and we unseated a 22-year incumbent that had $2.5 million in the bank. And I was a little bit more vocal, I'm sure you know that, voting against John Boehner than we ran against him in 2014. And my goal was not to be the speaker. My goal was to get new leadership in Washington, and we've accomplished that with Paul Ryan. And then in 2014, Dave Bratt unseated Eric Cantor, and that's the first time in our country's history that a sitting majority leader has lost an election in a primary.
All right, Congressman, let me jump in here because we've got about 30 seconds left to go. You talked about change, the desire for some outsiders to get into Washington. A lot of talk about Donald Trump. Some conservatives, the National Review came out against him in that article. But I wanted to ask you, because you're on the front lines there fighting for conservative change in Washington, do you consider Donald Trump conservative enough for you, yes or no?
I'm supporting Rand Paul. I think Rand Paul, is where I want to stay right now. We'll see how, what Rand's decisions are after Iowa.
All right, fair enough. Time's short, but great talking with you, Congressman Ted Yoho. John Gizzi, thanks for joining us on this one, too. We got more coming back here on Newsmax Now.